Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Seth, one of the co-hosts of Engage Podcast, to bring you a great episode this week. First of all, I just want to say, hope you guys all have a fantastic and safe Thanksgiving. And if you're listening to this podcast for the very first time, I just want to say welcome. And after today's episode, if you liked what you heard, go ahead and hit subscribe wherever you're hearing my voice right now, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Podcast Addict, wherever. That way it's on your phone waiting for you every Thursday when we come out with a new episode of Engage Podcast. Our guest today was probably one of the most down-to-earth individuals we've ever had on the podcast. Definitely in the top 5. And he was such a good person to have on the podcast. We love talking to him. His name is Joe Flynn of Flynn's Tires. If you live in Western PA or Eastern Ohio, you know Flynn's Tires, and you love to find out, okay, who is the owner of Flynn's Tires? And today you're going to find out not only who he is, but you're going to get to learn a lot about him. We actually went to his headquarters in West Middlesex, actually sat down with him in his boardroom, which felt like so official. It was such a cool experience. We got to get a tour of the facility. He really opened his doors for me and Pastor Anthony. We had such a great time doing it. And this was another one of those episodes, just like last week's episode, where we could have talked for another hour easily. But it's such a great episode. And we loved talking and having Joe Flynn on. And you guys are going to really enjoy this. So give it up for our friend, Joe Flynn.
Podcast. Today we have the distinct pleasure of having Joe Flynn from Flynn's Tire on our show. This is our Leader to Leader podcast series where we take folks in the community that are out changing the world and have been successful. Joe, we are so glad to have you on the show today.
I'm glad you invited me on the show. I'm looking forward to this.
So this is we've never been to this location. Now I grew up in Newcastle, so I've driven by plenty of Flynn's Tires, but we're here at the headquarters. Is that correct?
Yes, this is the old Wall Street Journal printing press from years ago. So they printed the Wall Street Journal. I think that's what the building was built for, and they vacated it, probably 10 years ago or so. And we had outgrown our offices above our retail store in Mercer, so this was available, and we were able to use it, so we put it to good use. Now it's bigger than what we need, but we figure we'd grow into it someday.
Exactly, so. I like the vision. So we're sitting across from Seth. How was Seth? I always like to check in with Seth.
I'm good. Again, any day I can do a podcast with you. Best job ever.
Appreciate that.
That's great.
I think we almost every time we do anything, we just look at each other at some point and say, best job we ever had.
I love it.
You can't beat it. So
that's great.
Thanks, Seth.
Plus, you're wearing plaid.
Uh-huh.
All right. You're wearing, you're looking like Kurt Cobain today.
Mm-hmm.
You look good in flannel.
I appreciate that. Well, the weather has broken, right? It's fall fashion time, friends.
That's right.
That's right.
It's getting cold out.
So, I had physical therapy yesterday, and I left the house dressed kind of like this, minus the jeans. I had sweatpants and this and that, and they were putting me through the ringer. And I was pouring sweat. And they're like, just take your hoodie off, and this and that. And I'm like, here's a little fast fact about me. However I dress in the beginning of the day, I stick with the plan. I don't care if I leave the house and I'm ready for winter and the rest of the day is like super hot. I'm not disrobing. Like, I'm keeping on that look, whatever I left with, and I will sweat, but I will act cool the whole rest of the day.
I'm so glad that you said that because I thought that was just me.
Oh, you do the same thing? I do
the exact same thing. If I leave the house and it's like 90 degrees, if I'm wearing like t-shirt and shorts, and it drops to 30 degrees by noon, I will rock that outfit. Like I refuse to change. I thought that was just me.
No, see, but you do the opposite. I like where I'm hot and sweating, but it's cold out, and when it's cold out, you're freezing, but won't give in to the new hoodie or something like that.
Well, no, but that's why I was dressed in flannel all year round. I was wearing that outfit in June.
That's true. I remember making fun of you for that.
You made fun of me just yesterday because of that.
I make fun of him a lot. It's my way of saying I love you, Seth.
I get it. I would be weird if you didn't.
So, Joe, we are sitting here, and this place is pretty impressive, really big. Tell us the history about Flynn's Tires.
Sure. So, well, actually, this building, the building itself, Wall Street Journal printing press, it also printed the local newspapers. And I worked here midnight shift for 4 years while I was going to school. So
Get out.
No, yeah. So I worked here. I came in probably every Saturday from 8 o'clock at night. I was here till 2 o'clock in the morning. And we stuffed. What we did is we came in and for the Sharon Herald, the Sunday Herald, because at that time, the Herald was bought and sold, and they do their own printing now. But at the time, years ago, they printed it here, at least the Sunday version, and we would put the ads in the comics, and then when the papers would start printing, we would stuff those pre-stuffed comics with all the ads in from Kaufman's or wherever at the time.
Cool.
We put it in the papers and we bundled them and we shipped them out, and they got loaded up out the door.
So then you remember what this building looked like?
Yep.
All those years ago?
When this podcast is over, I'll take you guys for a little tour and show you where the printing presses were and the pressmen and where I was. I wasn't allowed to go in most of the building, but
That's cool.
Yep.
Wow.
That's very cool.
So yeah, but it is definitely a big building. We'll eventually have a warehouse here, I think, because it's centrally located. But we just haven't been able to do that yet. So
Well, you'll get there.
Yeah.
You'll get there. So tell us about Flynn's Tire. Tell us about the history. I know you mentioned that your father has had an important role. So tell us all about it.
Yeah. So the history of Flynn's Tire. So Flynn's Tire was started in 1964 on Sharpsville Avenue. This is I know the people at home can't see that, but that's the original building. You know where Our Gang's restaurant is?
Yeah.
Well, the parking lot of Our Gang's is where our first location was. So it was Ure Company Incorporated.
What's the name there? How's that?
So the name of that is actually, so our name is still Ure Company Incorporated, DBA. We do business as Flynn's Tire. But in 1964, my grandfather, this is a picture of my grandfather, when he started the company with my dad and my uncle, they started the three of them together. Back then there was no internet, right? So to incorporate, they had to pick a name and they filled out a form and they mailed it in, and 8 weeks later they'd get a response. And whatever names they originally picked, like Flynn Incorporated, somebody had already done that somewhere in the country. So after a couple attempts, my grandfather said, he was born in Ireland, so the old Irish language of Gaelic, he said, I'll pick a name nobody's ever picked before, because they get a rejection, but it was 8 weeks later. So he picked the name Ure, which means in the old Irish language, it means dependable.
Wow.
So technically we're Dependable Company Incorporated.
No kidding.
So, Ure Company Incorporated.
Wow.
So and that's
really
my
cool.
grandfather, John Joseph Flynn Sr. I'm actually John Joseph Flynn III. I go by Joe, my middle name. My dad went by his middle name, and my son is the fourth. He goes by his middle name too, Joe. So I don't know how that all started, but that's where I'm
tradition
at.
now.
Yeah, it's tradition now. I can't change it.
Did you know him? Did you have the
So
opportunity?
he died when I was 4 years old. So I have some recollection of him, but as a 4-year-old kid, just
Yeah.
from that perspective. And then my dad. This is a picture of my dad. So he passed away in 2002. So he started. My dad, my uncle, and my grandfather started together. So that's a picture of my dad, and that was 1964. We moved then to the Mercer store. So this was the original one that I just showed you. Then we moved out to Mercer. I don't know if you're familiar with that, on 62.
Yes.
And that's what that building looked like at the time. And so we were based out of here, and then based out of here, and then we moved here in 2013. So, and then that's the
Is the Mercer one still functioning?
So we just shut down the Mercer store because we moved the commercial to Hubbard. We had retail in Hermitage and Grove City, and then we put the last straw was warehouse in Mercer was 38,000 square feet, and we just moved it to Masury with 150,000 square feet, which is, we really needed the extra space, and we couldn't do it there in Mercer. So it served us well, but at that point, it just didn't make financial sense to keep it open.
Right.
So it's, but that's what happens. You grow, and sometimes you got to move on. But
Yeah.
So you have a family history of the business. You mentioned your grandfather, your father, uncle, I think, in there. They were clearly influential for you, right?
yes.
What elements were? What was influential for you? What were the big things that you learned and try to implement in your life? What qualities in them did you see that you try to live and implement in your own world?
Yeah. So my dad, he was the biggest influence in my life. He used to, he would bring me in to work with him when I was a kid, all the time. And he would, I just got to hang out with my dad while he was working. I would play here. We were just talking about that, and not necessarily here, but at work. And we would, I looked at work as fun. And as I grew up, so my dad had me, when I was a little kid, I would just come in and play. I would build cardboard clubhouses. I would climb through the tires. It was just a big playland for me. And I still look at it as a big playland, to be very honest. But because I love what I do. But then I started to, unload trucks and load trucks, and started to help out in the warehouse, and started to help out in the retail store. And then when I turned 16, started delivering tires, and then worked in the warehouse for a couple years, and then started selling tires at the retail counter, mounted tires right before that, and worked in the shop. And so then when I graduated, I went to Grove City College, which is local here. When I graduated from Grove City College, I ran the Mercer store for a little while, and then my dad just said, what I want you to do is just follow me around. I just need you to follow me around. I'm not a good teacher, but if you follow me around, I would, you'll pick some things up. So he would take me everywhere. So when he met with the bank, I'd be with him. When he met with the vendors, I'd be with him. And so when he passed away, I had a good foundation of how the business worked, and I knew everybody associated with the business, from everybody that worked in the business to all of our suppliers and vendors and customers. So it was a good experience. My dad was a good person. People who worked around my dad, they genuinely loved my dad, and he was a great guy. Now, he also, every day when we would leave work in the car, he would say the Our Father, and he would thank God for the business that we had and the people that we had, and so when my kids come with me, that's what I do with them, because I just remember that with my dad. And
That's cool.
yeah, it was he was a good guy.
There's a couple things that made me think of the thing in the car. When I drop the kids off for school, I recite, I think it's Psalm 100. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
Yeah.
So, Carmen still thinks I'm amazing. And Isabella's like, I look in the rearview mirror, and she's like, does the eye roll, like, here, he's going to say this again. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to say this every day for the rest of your life. So, get used to it. This is only like second grade, so this is going to be happening for a long time. And I say, here's the reason why I'm saying that. And I ask them, I say, how many times is today going to happen? And they say, never. I say, then you make this the best day of your life. You make today special. You make it awesome. So I'm trying to get that point across to them. So I think that's cool, that little parallel. But it's good because learning is not taught, it's caught, right, for the most part. And hopefully it's something that instilled in them that, we all go through the periods where, mom or dad, they don't know much. And then they all of a sudden realize, like, wait a second, mom and dad knew some things. Then you become a parent, and you become your parents. So maybe when they get older, they'll remember like Dad did this with me.
Yeah.
And Dad did the Lord's
Yeah, I
Prayer.
hope so, because I remember that with my dad. So.
You know, the second thing that's really neat is, you know, we underestimate the greatest leadership principle, which is what your dad said, and just follow me. And Jesus said that to his initial disciples. He said, come and follow me. Like he didn't give them a list of rules. He didn't say, go read this book or go watch this seminar. He invited them into his life. And, you know, you have the earliest account of people, the disciples, who wanted to know if Jesus was who he said he was. Is this the Messiah? Then Jesus said, and this is in John chapter 2, come and follow me. Like he invited them into his home just to observe his life. And that's the number one principle that you can ever do, is just have someone watch who you are as a person and invite them into your life and all the different elements. It's not that you're going to be perfect, but they can learn even in those failures. You know, even if you fail in front of your kids, you could say, you know, Dad messed up. I should have done this or said this. And so that becomes a teachable moment as well for them, how to redeem that moment, you know. But I think that's incredible. Your father had that foresight to invite his son into his life. So many dads, as they get older, and parents in general, they want to separate that from their kids. You know, whereas your father invited you into his life, and you got to learn firsthand, you know, what he was doing, how to run a company, and all those things. So it's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
You mentioned that, you know, you were working in this place for the Wall Street Journal while in school.
Right.
So what did you go to school for? You were in Grove City.
I went to Grove City College. Business administration is what it was at the time. And so I graduated from Mercer High School in 1992, and then went to Grove City College and got out in 1996. So
you had a clear path. Like you knew, I want to do this.
Yes,
So I'm
I
going
knew
to school for
exactly what I
business.
wanted to do.
So it wasn't a mystery.
Ever since I was a little kid, my dad used to tell me, he used to say, Joe, you don't know how fortunate you are to be in the tire and auto service business, because he used to say everybody wants to be in the tire and auto service business because everybody wants to know somebody that sells tires or auto service, because everybody wants to know somebody that they can trust, that they can buy, you know, that they know that they're, you know, if they really need something fixed, or what you know, what's the right tire to put on their vehicle. And so they want to have a relationship with somebody that sells tires and auto service. So if you sell other things, not that that's good or bad, but it's sometimes you don't necessarily need to know somebody. You know, maybe if it's shoes, you might just say, hey, I like those shoes, the way they look. But with tires and auto service, it's not really about aesthetics or how it looks. It's more, what do I need? I hear a noise, or I'm slipping and sliding. Can you help me out with this? So he used to say, you'll get to know all the politicians and all the other business people and everybody in town. You'll get to know. So that's what he used to say, and I've learned that to be true. So it's a fun business.
Isn't that crazy?
People like to get to know people who sell tires and auto service.
Cool.
So
Everyone needs a guy, like no matter what.
Oh yeah.
What the guy is, and you're like the tire guy. I know a guy. Like,
I know a guy. Yeah,
Joe Flynn.
Exactly. So it's fun. But yeah, my dad used to tell me, you know, so when I was a kid, I always looked at, like I said, I used to play in the warehouse and build cardboard clubhouses, and now I try to build real tire stores instead of the cardboard versions, and I have a lot of fun. But it's something that I always knew I wanted to do since I was a little kid. I wanted to be like Dad, and so that's what I've done, and I love every minute of it.
So me and Pastor Anthony were talking outside before we walked in about how a company can thrive when it has its initial owner, but then sometimes when that owner either passes away or retires, the next person that steps in, that usually you can kind of see either the company go to the next level or they just decrease. Obviously, it's going on the up and up with you. I want to know personally, what do you think that you are bringing to the table that was different than your dad? Not for better or for worse, just your personality. What is it, do you think, about you that is taking Flynn's Tires from where it was when your dad was in charge versus where it is now?
Well, to be very honest, I think if my dad was alive, we'd be probably 3 times bigger than we are now. He was a much better businessman than I am, but I learned from him, and we have grown since then tremendously. But we were growing. We were on the growth path when my dad was alive. So I definitely learned about business from him. I wish I could have learned a lot more. I was in my late 20s when he passed away, but. I would say that the one thing that he used to say to me all the time when I was growing up is, especially when I got a little bit older, was, you got to surround yourself with people who are better than you, right? So whatever you're hiring for, you got to find somebody that's better than you. And I used to argue with him at the time and say, that means I'm going to be the weakest link in the chain, right? Because if everybody's better than me all around me, I'm the weak link. And he used to say, I can't explain it. I just if you're going to hire somebody, you hire somebody that's better than you at whatever you're looking to hire for. So when he passed away, I mean, I learned the hard way a few times, and it's probably the best way to learn, right? When you learn the hard way, you never forget it. And so the light bulb went off and said, aha. I know what he was talking about now, right? You can't be everywhere. You can't do everything. We have 35 locations now, so we have to have people that are good everywhere, because and the best at what they do, right? So we need everybody to be the best at what they do in every position that they're in, so that we can produce the best product and service that we can. We need everybody on board. It really is like a team sport, right? You got to have. It's not just one person that's going to do it. You got to have the whole team on board, focused on one vision, and you got to have the right people. So that's what he told me, is surround yourself with people who are better than you, and so I've done that. I have some of the best people in the tire industry around me. So. And I am the weak link in the chain. When we have team meetings, we have once a month, right? I'm still that little kid in the room that I feel like I'm still playing, and they're smart people who are very, very good at what they do. But the other thing I try to do is I try to take care of them, right? I try to find the best people I can, and I want them to enjoy Flynn Tire. I want them to have fun. I want them to like coming to work. I want to make it easier for them, right? If there's anything that's in their way that causes friction in their day or in their job, I want to remove it so that they enjoy it, and so that they can. And if there's anything, sometimes I can't, or I don't know how, but when I can, I do it. And it's I want to make sure that I have the best people around me and that they love what they do. So. That's cool. That's what I try to do. And then the other thing is, my dad, I'm out a lot. I'm only here half the time. I can't sit still, right? So I've got to be out. And so the way I look at it is, and my dad never really told me this, but I experienced it with him a little bit, was that, so everybody has to know what you expect. And then you go around and you inspect what you expect to see if it's happening, and of course there's always areas that you can improve. So I try to focus on the biggest impact areas that I can improve on, and that's what I do. But yeah, you got to make sure that you have the good people.
When you have people that you need on the bus, let's say, where they're the good, top-notch, inspired people, how do you go about communicating what you expect? Is this a kind of I'm Joe Flynn top-down approach, or is it let's get in the room together and create some norms and standards and things that, and at the end of the day, in other words, the process is utilizing all of us to come up with what we expect, or is it a little bit of both?
Well, I'm not a decision by committee kind of guy, so I definitely I know what I want, but I do like feedback. So I like to get individuals' feedback. In fact, it's funny because sometimes I like to get, if there's 5 people that I need feedback from, because they're closest to it, right? So there's things that I don't think about. I'll try to ask them individually for feedback first, so that there's not one loud voice in the room that's kind of dictating what's going on. And then, depending on how that goes, depending on the situation, then I'll try to get a few of them in the room together to talk about it and try to figure out, just get feedback. But once I know what I want, then I just let them know what I want. So
This is the standards.
This is the standard.
When you put
This is the
hat
expectation.
on, and
Right.
this is Flynn's Tire. And when you agree to work here, this is the expectation.
that's right. This is the expectation, and so. But yeah, I try to get people's feedback because, I don't. Maybe I'm not as close to it as they are.
Yeah.
So I need to know. I need their feedback. But
That humble approach, in a way, I mean, it's humble, not the poor me approach, but being humble enough to know that you can always learn something, or they're closer to the situation than you are. A lot of times, we make our minds up too quickly, too soon, and then what happens? We gather more information, whether we do it on purpose or not, and then we realize either we were wrong or we could have made even a better decision or whatever. But I've learned you have to listen to people on the ground because they're the ones doing it, right?
yeah,
Not
yeah.
that-
If they,
You
they're the ones
can,
doing
you
it.
can learn a lot from folks.
You got to get their feedback. Yep. So that you get some of that feedback, but you also got to know, you got to know what you want, and you got to set the expectation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I love it. And I should mention also, I have family in the business. So not only just my family. So here's my, I got 4 kids. I got Joey. He's a 9-year-old. Madison, she's 7. Brooke is 6, and Charlotte will be 2 in October. And that's my wife, Megan. So we're all in the tire business, all in. I also have my uncle RP, my dad's brother, my cousin Jim, my cousin Ann, my sister, and myself. That's his dog, Magoo, my uncle's dog. He goes everywhere with him. So if you see my uncle, you'll see Magoo. But they're also in the business, and they and we make a great family partnership business there.
Very
so
cool.
we try to decide together what we're looking for. We make good. We have fun when we get together to talk about business. So
Good.
That's cool.
Have you ever watched The Office?
yeah,
Run
Yes.
this place like Michael Scott, do you?
I don't know. How did he run the place? I don't remember. It was.
Just insanity.
Yeah.
Oh,
Insanity.
no. I think we have a lot of laughs. I could say that, but no, we have a purpose. We have a mission. We know exactly what we're trying to accomplish. So it's it's fun, and we want to be the best. That's the one thing about Flynn's Tire is that we don't want to do it like everybody else does it. I have people all the time saying, "Well, this is how Monroe does it. This is how Mr. Tire does it. This is how," and that's fine, and they're fine companies, but I don't want to be like anybody else. I want to be like Flynn's Tire, and I want to be the best. I want to win. We look at winning as every time the customer calls us or chooses us, we win. That's the Super Bowl for us every single time. So we have many opportunities. Hopefully we win most of them. We lose some occasionally. So then we try to analyze why did we lose? But we're I think in the office they weren't necessarily trying to be the best at what they do. They were just doing it.
They were just doing it.
Right.
Yeah, right.
We want to be the best. There's a big difference there. So if I gave you that impression,
No, you
I
didn't.
apologize.
You didn't.
Something about me reminds you
Not at
of Michael
Scott.
Scott.
No.
Yeah, not at all.
So
So let's say your son walks up to you, and
it was what was that?
your son, you have a son, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. And he walks up to you and he says, "Dad, I want to take over the business one day. What should I expect? What should I do? What advice would you give him?"
That's a great question. Well, first of all, I would love it if he said that because I will encourage him. But obviously he may or may not have a passion for it, so we'll find out.
Yeah.
But what would I do? Well, first of all, like anybody else, he's got to work in the business, right? So he's got to do pretty much everything that we do. So he'll start out working in the, just cleaning up. Like they have license. When I was a kid, they made me a license. We had one store, and the guys at the counter made me a little license, and I still have that license. My mom has it, but it authorized me to do certain things like dust and sweep the floors. Well, and when I was a kid, there would be customers who would stop me and say, "Do you have a license to do that?" And I'd say, I'd pull out my license, I'd show them. Well, it wasn't until years later when I started thinking about it, they must have these customers just, they set me up, right? I didn't realize it. I just thought
That's how your dad got more work out of you.
There you go.
So I gave
Genius.
my kids licenses. I have them hanging up on the wall. So when they come in, they put their license in and authorizes them to do certain things. So they do come in here and work. Now,
That's so genius.
I
just logged that into my to-do list right now.
Yeah.
That's so brilliant.
So they come in and they do those. So emptying the trash is, the first one on the list. So they do that. They come in to vacuum the floors too. Sometimes there's more dirt left on the floor than when it was done. So, but then they play. So they're not, they have fun right now.
Yeah.
But as they get older, they'll be authorized to do more and more work. Mm-hmm. And then they'll learn about tires, they'll sell tires, they'll mount tires, they'll deliver tires, they'll warehouse tires, they'll sell them and
cool.
and then we'll go from there. So
very cool.
We'll see. But, I would say there's, they got, what my advice would be to them would be that, you got a lot to learn. So you just learn every job that you're in. You want to be the best at it, right? So if you're sweeping floor, you want to be the best floor sweeper in the world. And if you can't be, because you're 9 years old, you want to be the best 9-year-old floor sweeper in the world at least. But you want to be the best at what you do.
Yeah.
I think people in life sometimes don't get that. They don't, whatever they're trying to be, they're just doing it. But if they can be the best at whatever they do, that makes a difference, I think.
Didn't Abraham Lincoln say that? Whatever you are, be a good one?
The quote that I know for a fact is Martin Luther King Jr., who said that if you were a street cleaner, be the best street cleaner that God's ever created.
Yeah.
And because that was his whole thing of there's no job that is beneath you.
I think I would agree with that. That makes sense to me.
So I don't think most people operate that way, right? Just in general. Why?
I don't know if maybe it's just not. Maybe it hasn't been brought up to them. They've never thought about it that way. It's just a way of thinking, I think. So I think everybody maybe can think that way if it's. We have an orientation, so every new hire that comes into our company, we go through an orientation program. So Paige Turk, our director of HR, she spends 2 or 3 hours with them, and they go over everything regarding HR, whether it's our benefits package, how to access our hire packets or anything. And then I go through the culture of the company, right? So who are we? Why are we different than other people that do what we do, right? What differentiates Flynn's Tire from all those other companies? And I go through our culture, and that's part of one of the things that I talk about is our, being the best at what we do. I mean, in order for Flynn's Tire, if you take one store, the Hermitage store, in order for the Hermitage store to be the best at what they do, every person on that team has to be the best at what they do. So if one guy drops the ball, everybody else could have done it right. It impacts that customer.
Yeah.
And then we might lose a customer because they might get grease on their door handle or something, and everybody else did their job right, but
That
one
person.
guy messed up. And it happens sometimes, right? I mean, mistakes happen, so we're not perfect. So we're constantly trying to get better at what we do, but we want to be the best at what we do. And in my personal opinion, I don't care what everybody else does. We want to focus on being the best. So
Yeah.
So my wife's family, they actually own the Dunkin' Donuts in Newcastle.
Oh, I love Dunkin' Donuts, by the way.
So thank you. And
I go the one right on 18, right by
Yep.
Flynn's Tire. So
Yep.
I stop there frequently because when I'm leaving Newcastle, I stop in all the stores all the time. So I can't. It's hard for me to pass up a Dunkin' Donuts. I gotta be honest with you.
It is good. It is so good. And it's dangerous for us, the family, because it's free to us. So it's free Dunkin' coffee anytime you want. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But the thing about them that makes them kind of special is that it's a family operated like business and company. So my oldest sister-in-law is in charge of the store development. So all new stores that we build is through her. My other sister-in-law, she's in charge of marketing, guest relations, and then my wife's the head of HR. So pretty much all of the big hats are worn by a family member of some kind. And what's funny is you kind of operate a family business as well. I have seen it on the business end that a family business has a lot of, I don't want to say landmines. It has its troubles. It has its challenges that are very unique. What do you think is the secret to operating a family business to the degree that you guys do, and be successful and allowing, as you said, there to be feedback, for other people to kind of use their gifts, use their talents? How do you do that?
Well, it's I love it. I think my entire family loves it. There's really no egos, right? So we're all on the same page, and
that's helpful.
Yeah, I think that we're all on the same page. My uncle has been a very good inspiration to me too, and he's been a good person to talk about business with also, and he's a partner. I would say my uncle's the one that said that. He said, the reason why we work so well together is that none of us have egos, and I think that is probably true.
That's cool.
I thought about that after he said it. I mean, I do think that's true. But what we all want is the best person in the job, whether that's us or somebody else. So we're okay with hiring. So everybody in the family business has a role in the business, right? So we all play a role in the business. But we do hire people on the outside if there's a need for somebody better than us to run that. We'll hire somebody that is, if we think that they can bring value, because it's about winning, and it's about winning the customer, and it's about being the best. And so I never want to hold back Flynn's tire because maybe I'm not the best in certain areas. So I try to find the best person for the role. So we all work well together, and I think. I don't know. I guess. So
then, would you say?
I guess we like each other too. Maybe. I mean,
that's always helpful.
We really like each other, so we'll spend time together outside of work.
That's good.
And we'll hang out, and it's fun, right? So if we get, let's just say, I'll just use this as an example. Let's say I get tickets to a ball game from a vendor. I mean, I'll go with my cousins because they're fun, right? I mean, if my wife or my kids can't go, my cousins, and they'll do the same with me. Mm-hmm. And so we probably enjoy spending time together. Is probably a good, and there's certain things like that my sister or my cousin Ann might have a different perspective. I'll use my cousin Ann as an example. So she's a detail-oriented person. I'm not. I miss details completely. So she'll pick, she'll read legal contracts and pick things out that I missed because I'll read it, but I gotta be honest, I'd probably daydream halfway through it, right? And I can't focus on it. She can focus on things and find little things. I'm like, wow, I'm glad you picked that up. So, so I think everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. We complement each other. We like each other, and we have no egos. I guess maybe
cool.
that would be.
I what I'm hearing is you're all rowing in the same direction, and you're all serving the greater mission.
Yes.
And if everyone can get that,
right.
and that's not an easy thing to do, because you got a bunch of people rowing, a lot of things can go wrong. But if you're all rowing in the same direction, serving the greater mission, you can accomplish a lot. And that what's crazy is it doesn't even matter how many people are in the boat. Like, you have your family there, but if you can even have two people rowing in the same direction and going after the same mission, you can do a lot. Going back to the Bible,
a great point.
listen,
Yeah.
Jesus changed. I mean, think about this: the entire globe. I mean, imagine looking at the earth and saying to yourself, 12 guys changed that.
Yep.
I mean, that's insanity. Mm-hmm. There was no internet,
right?
There was no newspaper, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Hebrew News. journal.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it
for
didn't
a
exist.
huge part of that, the government was after them.
So
It's true.
So that made them talk about opposition.
Right.
Yeah.
So leaving, I guess that's all. It seems to be all intertwined here, but leaving the work world for a second. What does Joe Flynn like to do? What are the hobbies? What inspires you?
Well, so I have 4 kids. My wife and Megan and my 4 kids, and I love to hang out with them. We like to do anything outside. So we go to Cook's Forest. We go to Lake Erie. We go to Geneva on the Lake. We go to outside just at my house and just play in the yard, whether it's kickball. We did a lot of kickball this summer, a lot of wiffle ball this summer.
That's cool.
Yeah, we got our own little team, plus all the neighborhood kids and everything. Me and my wife, we like to travel a little bit. And so we like national parks. So we like to hike in national parks. So if you've ever been to Southern Utah is one of my favorite. South Dakota is another favorite of mine. But let's say Southern Utah, if you go to stay in Moab, there's you can go to Arches National Park. You can go to Canyonlands National Park. You can go to Bryce Canyon.
Bryce Canyon's beautiful.
Bryce Canyon, I love it.
So great.
And
Are we talking about like camping? Sleep?
Well, we have camped. We've camped at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. We hiked down and back up and spent the night at the bottom of the canyon. There's cabins down there, so we technically stayed in the cabin at I think it's called Phantom Ranch. We've gone to Colorado, hiked some mountains there. We've been to Lake Tahoe. That's a great place. So we definitely like to go hiking and. So that's one thing that we like to do, like travel a little bit. And I guess I don't have necessarily hobbies other than hanging out with my family. I don't. I love tires too. So that's kind of a hobby. I like selling tires. I like, if I get a little extra time, I'm like, okay, I'll go see the stores a little bit. I mean, I'll bring my family with me occasionally. But we just, and Megan's got a big family, and they're in Ohio and Cleveland and Hubbard, so we'll go hang out with them a lot and do just cook hamburgers out in the grill. But visit with my sister. She lives south of Poland, Ohio, there, and yeah, we just I don't know. I don't have a lot of hobbies other than hanging out with my kids, to be very honest.
Well, there's a simplicity, there's a power to simplicity. You're a man that knows what you want, knows what you like, and when you know those things, it allows you to sort of cut out things that aren't that important.
I incorporate everything together, I think. It's just, work and family. Family, obviously, comes first. Try to incorporate them into work as much as I can. But yeah, we just have fun hanging out together. I guess my family is my hobby. I guess I would say. Yeah. Whatever they want to do, I like doing. I like going to the zoos, like that Grove City Zoo or the one out there in Youngstown. Those are fun. I like those zoos.
That's cool.
We go skiing, once a winter. So yeah, just that's my family's my hobby.
Yeah, that's a great answer. It should be. So you gave us this audiobook when we first walked in here, How to Run Your Business by the Book.
That's right.
Why is that important to you, the book being the Bible? Why is that important to you? Or what's the, if you could say, man, this is the number one lesson that I learned from that book?
Well, I would say that, so if you look at our, these are our culture cards, right? This just tells you a little bit about who Flynn's Tire is. It tells you what our mission is, our core values, guiding principles. But we are, that gentleman that wrote that book, his name is Dave Anderson. I know him. I brought him in, and we did a class for everybody in the company, and just telling setting. It was around our 50th anniversary as a business, and just resetting, telling everybody who we were. So, I would say that How to Run Your Business by the Book is Dave Anderson. He's the author, a great guy, and he wrote that book basically saying, hey, look, here is how biblically you can run your business. So the book, How to Run Your Business by the Book, is the Bible, right? So, and I find that is so true. I mean, you can see here, we call it our Flynosophy, or our Flynn philosophy, what makes us different. So our associates are more helpful than all of our competitors. Fast, easy, friendly, and abiding by Christian principles. That's really, that's really what makes us a little bit different. And just, it was a good way to say, hey, listen, you don't have to keep them separate, right? You can run your business by the book, by the Bible. And there's some great, principles in there to show you how to do that. So, just treat everybody as you like to be treated. I mean, that's one of our respect is one of our core values. So our core values are URA, which is dependable. You guys know what URA is, which is an Irish word meaning dependable. And then it's honesty, enthusiasm, respect, and teamwork. So respect, treat others as you like to be treated. But we're in everything that we do, I think that we have to give glory to God, right? So if we're going to be alive, life's going to be over pretty quick. It goes by in a second. So whatever we do, we try to be the best at what we do. And with those gifts that God has blessed us with, we've got to give glory to God for those gifts. And that's, I think that's probably what the moral of the story is. But
yeah, I like it a lot.
Very nice. Very cool.
As a pastor, it's touching and it's heartwarming because it's kind of like, one of all these goals that you try to get through to your congregation, and to hear someone, and you go to another church, but to hear a congregant kind of quote unquote have that goal is huge. It's something you want to hear people in your church saying like, yeah, I'm a plumber, and then have that, what you just said, is their goal.
Yeah. You got to give glory to God.
Yeah.
Because,
that's cool.
It's kind of like the only way we can get people, in my mind, one of the only ways you can get people to, if you're a believer, is to tell them about it, right? They get to know who you are, and they say, what makes that person different? And you've got to tell them, that's what makes me different, right? Mm-hmm. I am, so that's just one way to do it, I guess. But
yeah, that's good.
I knew someone years ago who they were either a janitor or they did some sort of janitorial work, and they were a very devout Christian. And someone had asked them something about, why do you as a person like being a janitor? Because that's not a job that most people want or proud to have. And he said, because somehow, some way, I'm going to be an answer to someone's prayer. And whether it be something minute, whether it be something big, whether it be, and when I worked at Dunkin', that was always my attitude as well, was that, to some people it's just serving coffee. But in a greater scheme, I'm one of the fingers of God. I'm somehow going to be helping, whether it be a lawyer who's drafting up something, that coffee is going to help them, give them the energy or maybe the insight. You just never know. And with tires too, is a huge one. Is tires are expensive. Tires are needed. You need tires to drive. And doing what you do, you're answering someone's prayers.
I never thought about it that way. That's great. I love that.
Blew our minds.
Man.
I'm giving him the shiny microphone next time.
I love it.
I'm not really.
I'd say that's better than a pay raise.
I'm gonna incorporate that, Seth, into so in my orientation, when I tell my guys, I tell them basically, hey, every tire that you sell, that you order or receive or stack or scan or pull or load into a truck or deliver to a customer, wholesale customer, or mount on someone's car will end up on someone's vehicle and will help them drive safer, guaranteed. So what they do for a living is very important. But I think you just took it to a whole nother level, and I love that. And I'm gonna
trademark
do
Seth
that.
Walters.
Thank you. Yeah.
You can easily say, we'll help them end up with we'll end up on someone's vehicle, and we'll help them drive safer. And who knows, and you will be, and who knows, you can actually be an answer to someone's prayer.
I love
and
that.
and that's
true.
something you can either put there, or you can just go through it and say, when you're done, say, hey, look, guess what? At the end of the day,
I think
you
that's
may be the answer to
exactly right. I
someone's
am going to
prayer.
put that on there.
Boom.
Very cool.
See, Seth? We're getting towards the end of the podcast here, Joe.
Oh, I was just getting started.
Are you?
I'm sorry
Well,
about that.
No.
That's my problem. I can talk for hours at a time. So
Same with us.
Yeah, we can too, and that's why we mentioned earlier. I don't think we were recording, but we do part 2s, part 3, part 4. We're like the Lord of the Rings. We do preludes, postludes. We do it all.
Very good.
We Joe Flynn part 18, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's think about failure for a second.
Okay. I'm an expert in it. I am actually, that's probably the only thing that I'm good at. I've failed so many times. I just, I've gotten used to it, but.
That was good. So what can we learn about failure? Like, is there something that is glaring where you've done something, your heart was set on it, and it just didn't work out? Did you have an experience like that? How did you recover? What did you learn? Or just generally, what would you have to say about failure?
So I've failed many times. And I'm not kidding when I say I'm probably an expert at failure. Maybe that's the only thing I'm an expert in. But you learn from it, right? I think lessons learned the hard way are the best lessons learned, or at least they stick with you so you never make that mistake again, right? But sometimes that's how you learn. I've failed in many different ways, whether it's, I've had stores that didn't make it. So I don't like to fail, but sometimes you got to know when it is. But I probably keep trying too long. I've failed. I failed when when I met my wife. I was set up on a blind date with my wife, and so I asked her out like 10 times. Originally, when I met her, I was set up on a blind date. I asked her out like 10 times after that, and she said no, basically. And then my last time, I said, "Well, do you want me to stop?" I think it was 5 times actually, and I think on the 5th time, I said, "Would you like me to stop calling you?" And she said, "Oh, thank you." Yeah. So I stopped calling her, and then, as it happens, a year later, we ran into each other again, and it all worked out. But I basically thought I failed there. But
So I'm hearing persistence.
Persist. I'm a persistent person. I'm relentless. But I mean, at some point, you just got to know when to say when. But I would say, I pray about everything. So if I'm failing, I ask God for guidance. I'll just ask God for guidance, and in many different times in my life, I can say that He's taken over, and it's succeeded after that. But sometimes it's just, you just got to know when to say, you know what, I gotta. In the case of a store, I've had to close some operations down. So, you just if you ask God for guidance, He'll guide you. Whether it's bringing people around you that know what they're doing and have the answer that you don't know, because that's usually what happens with me. I don't know much. So I need people around me who do know. So I'll pray about it, and people oftentimes will show up and help me out, and I'll say, that was an answer to a prayer, But I think failure sometimes is you learn those lessons so that next time you can do it better and win.
Right.
And
yeah.
I'll use that example in that store that we closed down a store because it just didn't work out. No matter what we tried, it didn't work out. But I learned a lot from that, and I don't think I might fail. Another store might fail, but it won't be because of the same things that store failed from. Because I learned about that store. In this case, it was the population of where we put the store, and it was the how we went about with the leadership of that store. Not bad people, just set them up to fail. And I think I learned a lesson. So you learn. I think it helps you be stronger, so the next time you can win. Or not get in that failing situation. So failure is good. It's just part of life. Everybody's heard Abraham Lincoln. He's failed at so many things, and then if I had that bookmarker that said he ran for this and failed. He went out of business and failed, and he ran for another political office and failed, and then he became the president of the United States. It was like, wow, he failed all these times.
Right.
And then, but all those failures, probably led him to be the person that he was at the end, and how he led. Those failures probably helped him build his character, right? Everybody's got character. So it's, I think those failures help you build your character. So
I keep on hearing the great Jimmy Valvano and one of those amazing speeches he gave at the end of his life. When he kept on repeating, "Don't give up, don't ever give up." And the guy was standing there full of cancer, knowing he's dying. And that's what the persistence is. You just never give up and learn what you can along the path. So, all right, 2 more quick questions, okay?
yes.
So, you're looking forward 10, 20 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with your life? What's going on?
Well, I am leading the best tire and auto service company in the world, the Chick-fil-A of tires and auto service. We're the best at being the fastest. So when you come in for tires, you're in and out in 15 minutes, and not because we're just do the same thing faster, but because we do it differently. And, my kids are working in the business with me, and my wife is too. And, we're just having fun and glorifying God, and, have some dynamite people that have grown up in the business, started out as tire techs, and now are managers and are doing well in life. And, that's where I'm still living in Hermitage, Pennsylvania, and I might have a bigger yard then. I think I do. Yeah, I do I have a bigger yard. And this field out back here, there's 33 acres. They're all covered with a roof. It's a warehouse. So
okay, maybe you can get all the kids together and go play some wiffle ball back there.
Yes,
how's that
that's
sound?
exactly right.
I like it.
All right, so I didn't send this question to you, but it's something I like to ask all the guests. So we kind of conjectured and looked in the future, but let's do something else. Let's say that somehow you were able to meet yourself at maybe 12 or 15 years old, and you ran into you. What would you say to you? What advice would you give yourself?
Well, what advice would I give myself at 12 or 15 years old? I think I would say spend more time with your dad, because he passed away when I was in my late 20s. So I tell myself that.
Well, you got.
I had a great childhood. I've had a great life. I've had a lot of good people in my life give me direction. So probably what I told myself, people already did tell me at that time. So I got a lot of good advice. But there's always those things, those little things.
Sure.
So, but.
Well, I think your answer is exactly what it needs to be. It's spend quality time with the person or people you love the most.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I would say.
Well, listen, I know I speak for Seth here, that this has been fantastic. It was excellent sitting with you. Like you said, we're going to be getting a tour of this place, which I can't wait for personally. But this is Anthony Clauditis at Faith Presbyterian Church signing off of our Engaged podcast. Joe, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, and it means a lot.
Thank you, Pastor, and thank you, Seth.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thanks for thinking of me and inviting me on this podcast. It's been fun. I can't wait for round 2.
I can't wait too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we look forward to connecting with you next week.
Thank you.